Put down your baby and pick up a beer. Dad Jokes is back with a brand new episode. I'm Jerry, joined here as always by Brandon, and you're listening to the podcast of two dads going through the journey of fatherhood. Well, you all get to sit back and listen to us as we do it. And Brandon, it has been a busy day. It's been a busy couple weeks. It's good to be on the podcast and kind of talk about what's been going on. But I think you kind of said it before we got on. You were a little bit tired, and I know I am. So if we sound sleepy, just bear with us. It's fatherhood. It's kind of our norm.
Yeah, and we'll get into a little bit why I am, but I will say before we start recording, sometimes I'm just like, oh my god, because I honestly I forgot about it today, and then I remembered. I remembered probably an hour ago, and I'm like, I ain't gonna lie. I know Jerry went out tonight. He went out to the bar. He had a little celebration, and I wasn't there. I'm like, I hope he got tuned up and forgets because I want to go to sleep. And then you texted me. I was like, we got to do it. Suck it up. So, but as soon as like I got downstairs, got situated, I feel like I caught like a little bit more energy. But wifey don't feel good, and we got a teething baby upstairs. So we're gonna try to keep this short and sweet today.
I like it, Brandon. Well, also yesterday, for anyone listening to us when we're recording right now, yesterday was Halloween, which is a big day when you're a parent, I feel like, and it was a big day for us. We'll get into that. But because of that, Brandon, I have a couple of Halloween dad jokes. So I'm going to give you one now and one at the end, and then you can decide if you want to go at the beginning or the end with me. Does that work?
Yeah, I'll go at the end. So you can
Okay.
get one now. They'll get a couple at the end.
All right, this is the one that I want. This is the one I found the funniest. I was reading a bunch of Halloween dad jokes, and this one I don't know why, but I laughed really loud at this one. So you ready?
I mean, I'm waiting with bated breath, but that's a heck of a
It's a heck of a lead in.
setup.
So,
Yeah.
Brandon, what does the ghost mom say when she gets in the car?
The ghost mom say when she gets in the car. I feel like I should be able to get this, but what did she say?
Fasten your seat belts. I don't know why, but I found that funny. Like you got a bunch of little ghosts wearing sheets around, and I don't know. It was funny to
That's
me. So it made me laugh. I got one more
like I
for you at the
said.
end.
Jerry been drinking a little bit tonight, so he might have read that tonight and really got a kick out of it.
Yeah, exactly. But I like it, Brandon. What's been going on with you guys? It's been a couple weeks. We've had a lot of things happen. I feel like in the last couple weeks, we've talked a little bit throughout the week. So, what's been going on in the Banks household?
All right, so I'm gonna give you a dad fail, and Kelsey's gonna um basically she's gonna be happy that I'm taking the L on this one. But
Uh
music wise, okay, we have done a pretty decent job
I feel like I
in
know where this is
particular,
going.
and but between the two of us, my wife and I, even though this podcast is typically, other than one episode we had, does not have any explicit content associated with it, right? And I come from a very conservative family. My mom's a minister. My dad always had a position in the church. Both of them still do. I grew up going to Christian schooling. There's a certain decorum that comes, especially at Granny and Pawpaw's house. Right now, I may have strayed a little bit to the left of how I grew up from like a day-to-day standpoint. Like I listen to music
Just
with
a
a
wee
little
bit,
bit more, yeah, like we weren't allowed to listen to
a little more soul.
secular music growing up. The soul is different, but there's definitely some rap that occurs in the house. And but Bryce is riding with me. We're very conscious of what we say around the kids in all seriousness. And when he's with me, the music is edited. Okay. And I always mess with Kelsey. I was like, hey, because she's a little bit more lax than I am.
Hey,
If
not
you
to cut
catch
you
what I'm
off, but
saying.
one of the first memories I ever have of Kelsey was sitting in a car with me, my wife, you, and Kelsey, and she had Cardi B unedited loud before Cardi B was Cardi B. And I was like, what is this music? And who is this
I
girl?
don't even
And she
remember
knew
that.
every word. She knew every
Oh,
word. And we were like at a gas station or something, picking something up.
okay. No, I actually,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's the same car ride I'm thinking about, and if it is, you might want to leave this story alone.
So
But
she like her music. Put it that way. She like her music because I like
yeah.
stuck with you. Talk about core memories with kids. That's a core memory of me with Kelsey. That's what I got in my head. I was like, okay, because she knew every
So
word, and I didn't even know who this Cardi
Kelsey
B
is
was.
and she's not who you would expect from the outside looking in to like the music that she like.
No,
And I'm talking, she gonna be so. I'm about to get in trouble.
I'll probably get in
But
trouble. I didn't
yeah,
do nothing.
she does
Uh,
she likes her rap. I'll just leave it at that. But so I always told her like I don't want my kid like slipping a cuss word in around my parents. I just don't like I
right.
don't. In her mindset is like it's probably gonna be kind of funny. But we both are actually conscious of it. But there is a we watch like Tiny Desk at the house, like the NPR YouTube channel. They do like their a concert series called Tiny Desk, and the Big Sean Tiny Desk is legitimately one of the only things Bryce has ever watched, and he's watched it consistently, and it is unedited, right? And this started when he was like he couldn't even talk, like, and that's probably I mean that's our fault, and I'll get into why in a second. So there's one of Big Sean's most popular songs. This is a huge dad fail for everybody listening. Okay, one of his most popular songs is Bryce's version is called "I Don't Mess with You."
Hmm.
Okay, I'll let you guys fill it in. And on the Tiny Desk version, after Big Sean says the main line in the song, so he says, and Jerry used the word like bed sheet, the latter part of that as a part of his joke. Big Sean says, "Oh, bed sheet," if you catch my drift. Um, and that's not. It's like a throwaway line. He don't even say it in the real song. He just say it there. So I'm getting Bryce ready for bed. He's in this like stage, and I'll get into it. But he's like he knows when he's asking for something, and he like will come up to you. He'll smile. He'll look at you. He's like he's working it. And we were we're sitting on the couch. We're his mom had gone upstairs with KJ. I'm getting him ready for bed. And he comes up to him, he sits on the couch and says, "Music, please, Dad. Big music." And when he says big music, he's really trying to say Big Sean. Like he wants to watch Big Sean Tiny Desk. He loves the song Bounce Back, which also happens to be Jerry. That was like your favorite song on
That
that album,
was.
which is funny. He loves Bounce Back. Um, and so I played Bounce Back, and I was like I told him this only song, we're cutting it off. Then I start doing something in the kitchen. I'm like, whatever, I'll just let it play through and then we'll go upstairs. And he has never even come like we have it ingrained in him the edited words to this. Like we've come up with our own edited version, right? And I knew this day would come, but I thought it was gonna be a while. I thought I had time to like stop playing it and then like he wouldn't repeat it. Because this has not been a problem. And so the song plays, I turn it off. I'm thinking nothing of it, and then he start like actually I sang a part like the opening line where there's like a loud high pitched voice, and he starts rapping the song, and clear as day he says "Oh bed sheet," and he didn't say "Oh bed sheet," and then he said it again and again, and then Kelsey is like I'm like don't react to this because she comes down like she hears him and she thinks it's hilarious because she knows it isn't her and it's me. So bottom line is my kid cussed today, like an hour and a half before
That's
we
all right, Brandon.
started.
You'll
It's
bounce back.
completely my fault. Good
You'll
job, good
bounce
job.
back.
So I'm gonna quickly. I'll go over kind of what we've been doing. It's been an eventful couple weeks. Obviously, you and I both experienced Halloween yesterday, and it might have
Hmm.
been a good thing that we didn't record on Wednesday because I think this that it was it's cool to talk about this fresh. So um, Bryce and KJ were buzzing Woody. They've been buzzing Woody like 15 times this month. I'm very happy to see Buzz and Woody go away. And for those of you who don't know, Bryce has been he gets kind of anxious in like crowds, and he's weird sometimes with strangers. So sometimes he's super happy around them. Sometimes he's weird. Lately, he's been weird. So I was a little nervous about Halloween. He did me proud. He we walked to either neighbor's house. He was super excited. Walked up, said trick or treat. For for both of them, he tried to hand them candy and put it into their bucket instead of getting it, which kind of foreshadowed the rest of the night. He did a really good job. We have a ton of kids that come through our neighborhood, and he did a really good job passing out candy, talking to the kids, talking to the grown ups. He had a great time. It was just one of his only times having like real candy, and not like some
Yep.
of the fake stuff that we buy. And when I tell you this kid ran in circles in our front yard for an hour straight.
Sugar's
Like
amazing, right?
it was I always thought that was a little overblown. I'm like, these kids just got energy anyway. No, I could definitely tell the difference. Like he did not stop running for an hour and was just like full speed running back and forth. So that was real interesting. What you guys do yesterday for Halloween?
Yeah, Halloween was great because the one bad part about Halloween in the car business, which we're both in, is it's always the last day of the month, right? And the last day of the month in the car business, usually you get stuck late. But I actually got home at a decent hour. My parents, or my mom and my stepdad, came over, which they had never been with the girls on Halloween before. My in-laws came over, so we kind of ate and then we went out. And this is Peyton's third Halloween, but the first one she was a little baby and we did it and it was great. Don't get me wrong, but she doesn't remember it. Last Halloween it was hailing outside and it was kind of like a whole ordeal, so it wasn't that great.
Yeah,
But this one
last
she's been
Halloween
excited
sucked.
about. Yeah, it did. So she was excited. It was actually decently nice out. And we're in a neighborhood now, which is a nice neighborhood. I really love my neighborhood, but it's not overly crowded. There's not tons of kids. There's not like tons of people, which was like my old neighborhood. So last year it was hailing, but we got like barely any kids, like two. And I'm like, okay, what's this going to be like? We didn't really know. So we get excited. We go out and it actually was super cool because Peyton was great. She was Cinderella and it was funny. She wanted to be Cinderella for a long time. Then all of a sudden the week before, my mom had bought her a Cinderella dress for her birthday, which is this month, and that was kind of her birthday gift to wear on Halloween. And then all of a sudden she was like, I don't want to be Cinderella. I want to be Belle. And was adamant. Like she hated Cinderella. Cinderella was the worst. And we're like, what is going to happen? But as soon as my mom gave her that dress and she saw the dress, she was all in, which was cool. So she dressed up as Cinderella. My mom bought her a bunch of accessories, but Peyton, being Peyton, only wanted very particular ones and wanted nothing to do with any of the other ones. But she still looked really
I can't wait
cute.
to see if any of this stuff like
Oh, she's so
translates to her
particular.
in her teenage years.
She's so particular. It's crazy. And then Avery was the fairy godmother, and she was super cute. And she did really good with her costume. And she was adorable. But we went trick or treating in my neighborhood. There actually was a lot of houses participating, and it was funny because there's not that many trick or treaters. I feel like every house was like hyped up. Like they was like every like time, like normally in popular neighborhoods, Brandon, you go to a house, you say trick or treat, you get the candy, and there's 20 kids behind you, and it's just like a
Yeah.
chain. Well, here it's like an event in my neighborhood. Like you go, they're talking to you, having a conversation. They're trying to get you to pick 5 or 6 different candies. They had like a bunch of people had like bags of candies and toys, not
Man,
just
they're
like one
generous.
piece. Yeah, and one guy was making hot dogs. I mean, like it was like all the people were really into it. So the girls did really good. Peyton was doing good. She gets a little shy when she came up there, but later on in the evening, she was opening up and yelling "Happy Halloween" and "Trick or treat" and picking out the candy. Avery was running around like a crazy person. She did good. And it was a lot of fun. Peyton did want to. It was funny. We took the wagon out, which was probably a dad fail because she wanted to get in the wagon in between every house. And I'm like, Peyton, we're walking 10 steps. It's longer to walk into the wagon, move it, and then walk out of the wagon. That was like probably the only thing that was bad. And it wasn't even that bad. She just was like, Dad, can I get in the wagon? It's like, Peyton, we're going 10 more steps. But she did good. Avery did good. They both looked cute. They both got a ton of candy. Just like you were saying, Bryce, they never really had candy that much before, unless grandparents gave it to them. They had a couple pieces. I found that it's funny when you give kids candy for the first time, though. I think Macy gave Peyton a Tootsie Roll, and I kid you not, Brandon, it took 25 minutes for this kid to eat this Tootsie Roll.
Yeah,
Like she
they
didn't
have
know what
no
to do
idea
with
what they're
it.
doing.
And I'm like, and if you ever seen someone eat a Tootsie Roll for like 25 minutes, it's not a pretty sight. And she's like drooling like chocolate. Like I'm like, will you just eat the thing? Like chew it and swallow it. But she didn't know what to do. But they had fun. And like I said, they got like toys and stickers and stuff too. They had these buckets that Macy had gotten them, and they were so heavy after just a few houses because these like people wanted to give them so much because there's not a lot of trick or treaters that it was like weighing them down. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was probably it was definitely like the first Halloween where I felt like it was like, okay, we got kids that are trick or treating, and it was kind of a fun event
Yeah.
as parents and with the kids. So I had a blast, and the kids I think had a blast, and the grandparents did too. So even though dog came out, she was dressed like a pumpkin. I was Prince Charming, and Macy was Gus Gus. So she's a good
Yeah.
sport too.
No, it was. I mean, super fun for us. I looked at Kelsey at the end of the day, and I was just like, this is almost like a core memory for me because it
Yep.
felt like the first time that, and I didn't grow up celebrating Halloween at all. Back to my super conservative 20s. I hope he doesn't cuss at their house on Tuesday. But but
Big
he
Sean, boy.
it was it was it was like it almost like the night went almost flawlessly, and it just felt like a really fun family night. My parents came over. My goddaughter, who Bryce is like, she's like his favorite person. She came over, and everything just kind of flowed really fun. He was in a good mood. KJ was in a good mood and adorable. So, I mean, everything kind of worked out really well. And we've been pretty eventful the last couple weeks since we last talked. Last weekend, Bryce got to go to Sesame Street Live,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm talking about how great everything went yesterday. Sesame Street Live, it was one of those days that, like, as a parent, you look so forward to because I know how much Bryce loves Sesame Street, and I'm sitting in there and I'm like, dude, what am I doing to this kid? Like, what's going? He like, so we start walking in, and I'm like, uh-oh, because he started clinging real. We're at the Fox Theater in
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, and he's like, he is excited in the parking ramp. He's excited before we get in the car. He's excited walking up to it, and we step in the line. A These people. I'm saying it's gonna be a short episode, and I feel myself talking so much. Uh, but so they separate me and Kelsey,
Oh
like, and it
no.
won't let that. And Bryce is already nervous, and then you literally take his mom away because he's like on my shoulders, he's with me, and they separate us because I don't pass like the detector, so I got to go through a second detector, and he's with me, so he technically went through too, and there is no leeway, and so he's like, he already nervous, he looking around for mom. I'm like, this is not a good start. We get in, we get to our seats, and he's just looking around at all these people, and it's loud, and he doesn't do well in those situations, and so I see it coming. I'm like, we're talking him through it, comforting him. He hasn't like melted down or anything like that, and then the show starts, and you would think that is like a good thing, it's a good distraction, and so he starts seeing the characters, and then they get the crowd into it. The crowd starts clapping, crowd starts
Mm,
yelling, and next thing I know, and I'm like rocking him, and at times he's looking happy, but I can see he's looking sad at other times. And Kelsey looks at me, she like gives me the big eyes. I was like, oh, and he just loses it. She has to hold on to him, and it took him probably about 5 or 10 minutes, and it almost got to the point where I was like, are we gonna walk out of here
right.
at like the intermission or whatever? Is it worth it? He ends up doing way better. I bought him a distraction from the little booth, which seemed to help get him through it. So shame on me. But it's one of those things, like, I'm struggling with how to handle it. Do I overexpose it, or
Right.
expose him to situations like this? Because we haven't really run from him. He just
Right.
hasn't reacted well almost any time.
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to be a surprise the next time. So that's something we're definitely struggling with, and
Well,
it it
Brandon, it's
it
funny. It's funny you said that because something that we've been going through is very similar. Is so we signed Peyton up for gymnastics, which I mentioned, like an actual class, right? Not just the kind of open gym she's done in the past. And I think I talked on the podcast how week one went terrible, but then the next couple weeks went better. Well, I went to the first one the other week, and I think Macy kind of probably explained it to me differently than like what I was thinking in my head, because I'm thinking, okay, it's going better, so she's doing good. Well, doing good means she's not screaming or disobeying the teacher. But when I say there's like 8 kids in this class and they're all having fun listening to the teacher stuff, Pate won't do anything without either Macy or the teacher basically holding her. And like she acts like the most shy. scared, timid kid of all time, which my daughter is not that. You know, she's crazy
Yeah.
and like and she's happy and she's goofy and she's loud and she's fun. But like we get in these settings sometimes and she just completely changes. Like she wouldn't do anything without like they were doing this thing where they had to like run, jump, and jump off something. And she like legitimately just basically had the teacher like pick her up and put her down. Like wouldn't even like fake do it. And is just so like she looks like she's terrified. And I was like, it was like breaking my heart. I'm like, because I want her to do stuff, but I'm like, why is she like so timid? Because sometimes she's around kids and she wants to play, but she wasn't, you know. And so I feel your pain because it's like, what do? You know, you don't want to. So
Yeah.
and I'm like telling Macy, I'm like, I feel bad, but at the same time, we got to probably keep exposing her to these types of things.
Yeah. I agree.
Otherwise, she's always going to be like this. But the hard part for us is like sometimes we do it and it goes well, and then sometimes it just goes terrible. Like we went to our friend's house to watch the Lions game, same thing. Peyton, like they made a joke when we were leaving. They were probably 4 or 5 hours, and one of the people that were there were like, Peyton said something. She's like, "Oh, it's the first word Peyton said all day." Because she just and she wasn't being sad or like she was playing,
Yeah.
she was doing stuff, but she was just quiet, which is not how she is at home. So it's like, what do you do? Do you keep exposing them? Do you talk to them? Do you? I don't know. So long story short, we feel your pain on kind of that.
Yeah, and the tough part is the whole point of it is you're exposing your kid to it so that they can have fun doing the
Right.
activities. It's generally
Right.
something you think that they would like to do. Like Bryce loves Sesame Street.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce loves soccer. And the way I grew up, my parents were definitely the overexposers. It was the like if I was scared of a roller coaster, then I would either get bribed into riding the next roller coaster, like monetarily, or I'd get forced. It depended on what mood they were in.
Right.
But either way, I was getting on it. I at least had to get on it one time to
Right.
say I did it, and then
It's
I
like the try
like
the food thing. You're gonna try it once, and then if you don't like it,
yeah.
it's one thing, but you're gonna try it.
Yeah, it's almost like a face your fear type thing. But
Mm-hmm.
I, it's also different when a kid is 7, 8, 9 versus 3 and almost 3. So that's, I mean, that's definitely a struggle for us right now. And there, if you do research on it, you can whatever way you think is right, you can find reasons for that to be what what you decide, and for it to be the dumb reason as well. So definitely we'll update you because that's a work in progress for us. A couple other quick hits. We also went to the zoo. That was amazing. Most active the zoo visit we've had. Animals were all I felt like super close. Bryce had a great time. KJ was existing and just happy to watch Bryce have a good time. Speaking to KJ, just overall, um, we started the process of getting him into out of our room and into the nursery the very first day. We did that first night. He literally puked everywhere.
Ugh.
We believe it's from a peanut reaction, similar to what Bryce has. We're hoping he doesn't have F pies, but it's really the only thing it could have been. So we'll have to try exposure a couple more times. He already had a little bit of exposure to it, but that was we kind of got a little PTSD from that because it was tough anyway. But we will be continuing that. He's teething both. He has two bottom teeth now, and I believe he has some teeth coming in at the top as well. And I'm definitely he loves me, but he definitely favors mom. He notices
Mhm.
mom when we're at that point where it could be a problem if mom's not around or in the room. Bryce, he's an emotional roller coaster, and he also is very, very, very smart, which is not necessarily smart and getting borderline sneaky, like
Mm.
understanding right from wrong. Yesterday, this is my last quick story, my update, because we 6 minutes away from the time frame, and I said we should, and we haven't even got to the topic or really what y'all been up to, but he I came out of our room yesterday and we've given him way more like leeway recently where we kind of let him. I mean he's I'm comfortable with him going up and down the stairs. Like he kind of has a little bit of a free roam of the house within certain areas. And he doesn't have to be in our room if we're in our room. I opened the door from our room because he shut it, and he looks up at me, and my wife's makeup table is kind of in the hallway, in like a little landing in the hallway. And his face is shiny with like splotches all over. And then I'm kind of shocked at that. I'm like, this dude done put makeup on. And he kind of blended it pretty well, a little bit. Uh, I look at her makeup table and he's like drawn all over the makeup table with one of
Oh
her
no.
probably super expensive makeups. And so she comes out, looks at it. She's like, Bryce, where's this? It's a stick of something. I don't know what it is. Where's the stick? He looked at her and said, looked at me, said, I was like, Bryce, if you don't show us where the stick is, and he's making stuff up. If you don't show us where the stick is, we're like,
I'm gonna
you're
show you
going
what a
straight to
stick
bed.
is.
Yeah. And he had at this point he'd already taken us into his room on a fake mission to find a stick, and then I threatened him with going to bed. This kid walks back over to where the makeup table is, moves a box, like, and then there's another box underneath it. He hid the stick. How does he know how to hide something and then send us on a wild goose chase to go find it? Like, where is this kid coming from? I don't understand what's going on. This kid is sneaky. He's me. He is me as a
Oh
child.
no.
So I mean, we're dealing with a lot. The kid is he's starting to figure life out a little bit. Vocabulary is getting crazy. Luckily, he loves KJ. Is gentle with them. Loves playing with them. But we're definitely right in the middle of everything they say about the 3-year-old age.
Nice.
That's all I got, Jerry.
I like it. Well, I'll try to get through us pretty quick. The big thing we did recently, which we're going to get into in our actual topic, is I built a big girl bed for Pate. It's actually a bunk bed, so eventually it'll be for Peyton and Avery. But right now, just
You built
Peyton.
that pretty quick too.
Yeah, actually, I was pretty proud. It was one of those dad moments where you like do it and you like. I felt proud afterwards because I did it
I was
99%
actually kind of
myself.
proud of you.
Yeah, so it felt good and it's cool because like, it's in their room now and I built it and hopefully it's gonna be used for years. But I also had to take apart a crib because it didn't fit outside the door and then take apart another crib and then put a crib back together. So that was all more obnoxious than I anticipated. But the bed's built, it's a good bed. Um, and I'll get more into that because it's kind of our topic today. But that was kind of a big step. That's gone fairly well, which again I'll dive more into. Other than that, Avery is in her last leap and is definitely apparent. It's one of those ones where I didn't even have to look it up. I kind of knew. But it's also good and bad. It's bad because she is definitely more clingy and whiny and just, everything's the end of the world. But when she's not the end of the world, she's at that stage. It's just so much fun because she's learning so much. This kid like says stuff all the time that just shocks me. Like she can say like 4 or 5 word sentences, and she like says stuff new every day. Like today, she was saying Peyton, and she was saying what she wants, and then her favorite thing to say is "Where's Daddy," which I love. It's always "Where's Daddy." And so she's got she's learning so much, and she's smart, and she's understanding what you're saying, and everything's funny. So it's just kind of cute and fun. It's also that stage, Brandon, where like you read to them and they constantly are asking you what things are. And then if you like ask them what things are, they'll point and they'll get super excited if they're right. So that's just kind of fun. You're like, what princess? You're like, oh, where's Ariel? And she points and then she's right. And you're like, good job. And she's like geeked. So that's fun.
Yeah.
She's definitely a crazy person though. That kid has just got zero fear, which is entertaining, but also terrifying. I'll get into some stories about that with the bed later on, but she's been a lot of fun. She's got another tooth coming in. To talk about Avery and how different she is than Peyton. She like cut her lip the other day, and I'm not even entirely sure how. And she was bleeding a decent amount, and she was not phased at all, at like just zero phase. And she's like bleeding, and I'm like trying to like take care of it, and she just doesn't care. And if it would have happened to Peyton, it would have been the end of the world. But like Avery just doesn't care. So that's the difference between the two. Peyton, she like I said, she's been going to gymnastics. That's been an experience. She has been she loves singing lately, and like she always loved music, but like lately she actually like I'm surprised I showed you a video, Brandon, but she like knows words to songs now and like will sing them by herself or like when you're not paying attention and she actually knows the words and it's super cute. Both her and Avery love to dance. Avery's got this thing where she like we say shake your booty and she literally can shake her hips so violently side to side and she loves to do it, but it's so weird how like she's not like slightly like it's so dramatic and she like loves doing it. So that's super cute. One thing that I'm super proud of Peyton is like, even though she's somewhat of a basket case, she's a very polite kid. and like always please, always thank you, always sorry, always just like not even without having to be asked a lot of time. And that's really really cool to see. She'll be like, thank you daddy, or can I do this please mommy, like things like that. So that's something I'm noticing more lately. So I'm proud of that for sure. um but yeah, I mean, overall, it's been good. Both of them are, ups and downs. It depends on the day. But they're at that age where they're both, I feel like, developing and getting kind of crazy, going through crazy different changes at the same time. And you got a little bit of Peyton's 3-year-oldness coming in and a little bit of Avery's leap coming in, which can be crazy. But then when they turn it off, they're both adorable for different reasons. Like Peyton loves to like make muffins now with mom. Can I please make muffins with you, mom? You know what I mean? And she like helps out and stuff like that, which is super cool. So that's what's been going on with us, Brandon. It's been a good couple weeks, and I can't complain too much.
Yeah, it's we're definitely in the roller coaster of life right now. It's fun.
It
And
is.
KJ is sleeping less and less, it feels like.
Oh yeah, we actually have been pretty blessed there, with the exception of a couple things, which again are kind of bed related, but it hasn't been too bad. Um, I guess for baby gear this week, I'm gonna go over the bed that we actually bought, because that'll be my baby gear, because that's kind of what we're talking about today. But the bed we ended up buying for Peyton is from Max and Lily. It's a Max and Lily fundamental twin low bunk bed. You can get it on their website. It's sold on, I think, Wayfair. It's sold on Amazon. But the reason we went with it, it's a bunk bed, but like a floor bunk bed almost. It's not on the floor. It's on like slates, but it's really low. And it kind of fits well into our room, but it's easy for Peyton to get into. It's not a huge difference. And then we wanted to do bunk beds because we might have a third kid. And if we had a third kid, we knew that Avery would end up in Peyton's room, and we didn't want to have to buy two beds or like not have the room for two beds. So then have to buy a whole different bed. So we were like, well, let's just do bunk beds now. Peyton will have her own, and then eventually we'll move to the top bunk, and then Avery can move in there with her. So that's the reason that we did what we did. And it was not that bad to put together. A lot of people said it take 2 to 3 hours. I think I did it in under two. So, and it wasn't overly complicated, and it seems very sturdy, nice, and has been great so far. So highly recommend it. Not crazy expensive, because you can definitely get crazy expensive ones out there, but that's the one we went with. So far so good on that. Do you have any baby gear to go over, Brandon?
I do. And you may or may not want me to say this because you may or may not be getting it, but I can't remember if I told you guys about the Miss Rachel doll.
Oh, I've seen
Um
this.
so Bryce got the Miss Rachel doll. Technically this is supposed to be for KJ, but Bryce got the Miss Rachel doll like whenever it came out, like a month ago. And this lady is a genius, because she already raking in the dough. She got like partnerships now with Elmo,
Don't
yada
look
yada
up her
yada.
net worth. Don't look up her net worth. It'll ruin your day, Brandon. I did
Well,
it.
I guarantee it's gonna go up. What was it? It's probably like
Uh,
$300 million.
yeah, it's legitimately all of that. It's
So
crazy.
it's about to go up, Jerry, because she's got. This is before she got into like toys, and so she just came out with a toy that coincided with the video that she had dropping like 2 days ago. And guess who had the toy in real time for the video to drop? We did. And it's called the Miss Rachel Surprise Learning Box. And she has a video that goes along with it. And she's basically playing with the toy with the kid who already loves her. So pulling stuff out is actually educational in some ways. It's the first time she like re-recorded some of the new songs that, for those
Mm.
of you who watch Miss Rachel, she basically has like the same version of the song over and
We're
over, just on
jumping, we're
different yeah.
jumping, we're jumping.
But like 4 year old version of that song. She did a couple new ones. Or new recordings of it. But like it was super fun. Like I watched Bryce play with that with Miss Rachel, and he was just so happy to like see her pull something out of the box. He rummage around the box, find it, pick it up, and do what she's doing. As she like it, it's a great idea, and
I'm
she's
sorry,
probably one of the.
Brandon, but Miss Rachel ain't got nothing on us. Like, why Miss Rachel got? Which I looked it up, by the way. It's over 10 million. It's not 300 million, but still over 10 million is her net worth right
That's
now.
such a big difference.
But it is a
It's
big
going
difference. But
up.
still,
She's worth $300 million
$10 million.
in my mind.
Well, then heck, I'll take what I was being worth $10,000. We we gotta do something. We gotta cut
I don't
songs.
know.
Maybe that's what we need. We need some songs or something on here. But no, I did see that doll, so she's obviously doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And that the surprise learning box is it's worth it in my opinion. That's a fun toy and a great idea if your kid loves Miss Rachel.
I like it, Brandon. Well, let's get into today's topic. Today's topic's kind of transitioning from a crib to, we'll call it a big kid bed, but it could be a toddler bed, a real bed, a bunk bed. There's lots of different things, but basically transitioning a kid out of their traditional crib. And I'll kind of speak to what we did and why before I go into like what people say you should do, because I don't think we really listen to that, and that might be good or bad. But essentially, our story was Peyton's about to be 3 this month. And this is around the time when a lot of people will transition, but that doesn't mean you should or need to. But for us, the reason really we decided to, and and this might be overthinking as a dad, Brandon, I'll fully admit this, but this was my rationale. My whole thing was like, okay, Peyton's about to be 3, and this kid, she's very independent. She has very strong opinions, but she doesn't go to daycare. We try to get her in gymnastic class, but like I said, she's kind of quiet. We got her in soccer class, kind of quiet. Goes to nursery at church, but kind of quiet. Out in public, sometimes kind of quiet. So, she sometimes is reserved, and I don't know why, but in my head, I'm thinking, I need to give this girl some responsibility or something that's like a bigger challenge or something for her. I don't know why. That's like what I'm thinking in my head. And I'm thinking if we give her a big girl bed, that's like something like how will she respond to this change? And
I hope by now you guys know Jerry. But if you don't, this is like the most Jerry way to look at something for a two
This
year
is
old girl.
this is
This
what I
is
was looking at
amazing.
because everyone's like, and this is what everyone said. And honestly, this is probably the truth. And this is the advice I would give to you dads out there if you're going through this. Everyone says if your kid's not climbing out of the crib and endangering themselves, just leave them in the crib. And Peyton was perfectly happy in her crib and had no issues. But yet, in my head and in my infinite wisdom, I'm like, hey, we need to give this kid more responsibility because I want to see how she acts. I want to see how she reacts. And I want to see if she can handle listening to like what the rules are of the bed. So I build this bed. And honestly, we talked about her getting a big girl bed for a little bit with her, but I don't think she fully understood what it meant. But I built the bed and she thought it was awesome. We got her princess sheets. She thought that was awesome. But I'm thinking, okay, what's going to happen when we actually let her sleep in this bed? And to my surprise, it actually went fairly well. And when I say fairly well, extremely well at first. She slept no issues. Actually slept in the first day to like 9 a.m., which she never does. Stayed
Oh,
in
I'm
her
so
bed. Yeah, she was
Bryson
great.
getting
It
new
was
baby, bro.
amazing. Yeah, she was great during her nap. Everything was perfect. And this is it's been a week now. And pretty much since then, she's been pretty dang good with a couple exceptions. Nap times has not gone as well. But not when mom or dad are home. It's when Grammy and Grammys are home or the grandparents are home. And it's funny though, she's not like bad, but this is what she did the other day. She was in bed. She got out of bed and goes, Grammy. She like yells at the top of the stairs where we have like a gate. And she's like, can you sing to me? And so grandma comes in and sings to her and lays with her for a while. Then she leaves. All of a sudden, like 10 minutes go by. She comes back to the gate and yells down, Grandma, I had a good nap. Come get me. Like 10 minutes later. Like, no, you didn't nap. So she's not being bad, but she like kind of like figured out she could get out of the room, right? And I'm like, great, this is not good because now she figures it out. We're going to be having problems. And honestly, since then, we have not really had problems at all at night. We've had a few problems during naps, except for one night. Last night, she randomly, right away, I must say right away, within like a half an hour, I heard something. She like got out of her room and went into the bathroom, but like was going through like the bathroom drawers. I don't know what she was doing because I like went to her and I was like, Pate, what are you doing? And she's like, didn't answer me, just kind of looked at me almost like she was scared. And I was like, are you okay? And she kind of like, when Peyton gets like overwhelmed, she like all of a sudden loses like verbal communication. So like I think she was scared. So I kind of put her back in her bed and laid with her for a minute, and then she went to bed and everything was fine. But other than that, she's been good at night, hasn't had issues getting out. In the morning, she doesn't get out and do stupid stuff. She just kind of lays there. So far, so good. But that was kind of our reasoning, Brandon. And that's why we kind of went down this path, is because dad, it kind of was like, let's give this kid some more responsibility. And then Macy was like, yeah, sure, it's time. But I I don't really know that that's scientific in any way. That was just my thought process.
It's definitely a Jerry way to think about it. We are the parents who basically are, if it ain't broke, don't fix it right now. Even though we've had this conversation more and more, which is why I thought this. I agree with you. This is a good time for the topic. Bryce, like, I don't know if it's possible for someone to love their crib more than Bryce does. Like, he asked to go back into it. He wants to stay there in the morning. He has like a little setup where he can reach like additional books, and he has like a little projector that he can pull in. Like, the kid loves his crib, and some days I think he would stay in there all day. So we haven't pushed it. He's never tried to climb out. I don't even know that he like. I don't even think that's the thoughts ever occurred to him, because he 100% could. So we've talked about it. It'll definitely happen before he's 4. And his we technically have a bed in his room already. Um, so it's just a matter of when we decide to pull the trigger. But we are we're definitely in the if it ain't broke, don't fix it phase
Yeah.
with Bryce.
Which is probably smart. The good news is a couple things I will tell you after going through this. If you are going to make the change, one, talk about it, get the kid involved early on. That was huge. We were showing Peyton beds, saying, "Are you excited for your good to go bed?" We had her pick out her sheets and her comforter. We got her excited about that. And then I built the bed early in the morning so she could kind of see it and mess with it before it was time for bed, you know? And her and Avery thought it was a blast. They were having so much fun. Although I will tell you, it's a bunk bed and it had a ladder, and you're supposed to screw the ladder in, but it has kind
I
of
was about to
latches.
ask you about that.
Yeah. So I go, Mason, I don't think I should screw this in. She goes, oh, it'll be fine. And I go, I'm not going to screw this in yet. And sure enough, I
I
kid
agree
you
with that
not,
decision.
yeah. Well, the funny part is it wasn't Peyton. It's the little crazy one. That freaking 15-month-old figured out how to climb that ladder to the top bunk in like 10 seconds.
Are you
And like,
serious?
yeah, Avery, and then got on the top bunk and started like jumping. And I'm like, she's gonna jump off this bed. So the ladder quickly came off. And the funny part is though, Brandon, we took that ladder off. And Peyton also thought it was cool too. Avery was the one who led the charge, but then Peyton thought it was fun and wanted to join. So we took the ladder off. But since then, every single day, Peyton and Avery's favorite new game is how can we get to the top bunk? So Avery, again, the kid is
Oh, I
not
love this
very
game.
old. Avery drags over her little mini chair to like try to stand on and jump to the top bunk. Like this is like what this kid does. And then she like does like tries to do
I've
like
never been
pull
more
ups,
proud of Avery.
tries to do like pull ups to get to the top. Peyton just thinks she's like good enough to jump to the top. Like she can just jump like she's Michael Jordan. So that's her move. But like these kids just are convinced they're going to get to this top bunk every day. So it's kind of entertaining. But Avery loves the bed. She loves running and jumping into the bed. Peyton also likes to slide into the bed, which is going to end in a concussion at some point in time. But they both think it's fun. They like to cuddle and wrestle and have fun in the bed. They like to have mom lay in the bed with them or grandma or dad. It's actually been a lot of fun hanging out in the room with the bed. The one negative, or not really negative, but one sad thing is that Peyton no longer wants to be rocked. She wants you to lay in bed and sing to her or talk to her, which is fun in a different way, but it's also kind of sad too. But overall, it's been a very positive experience. But we did get her involved early, which worked out really well. And then we've kind of still made it fun every night. Like, hey, you're in your big girl bed. Let's go to your big girl bed. And I think, we'll see what happens when the fun or the new wears off. But so far, so good. I'll fill everyone in a couple weeks if that's still the case.
And so you're kind of hitting on it, but and we both have a little bit in our stories. But what are signs of readiness if your kid, or you're thinking about moving your kid from their crib to their big boy or big girl bed? Climbing out is a huge thing. If they're trying to climb
Yep.
out and are capable of climbing out, you probably just it's time for a change. Like, you need to make the move. That's the biggest clue. Age wise, most stuff I looked at, I don't know if you saw it as well. The actual recommendation is 2 to 3, kind of where you're at, or 2 and 3 years old. where you're at, where I'm at. I'm going to tell into that obviously with Bryce. Um, Potty training, they look at it. So our perspective on potty training that we've mentioned before, Bryce is probably going to be for nighttime in a nighttime pull up for at least through the age of 3, if not a little bit longer. Kids' bladders is just it's just tough at that age.
Well,
He
judging
can
the
handle
pull up, you can do too. You know what I mean? Because like, if you put Bryce in a pull up and he's been dry in the morning for 3 straight weeks, you might go,
100%.
okay, you know. But like, that's the nice thing about a pull up is you can kind of tell, like, hey, it's dry every day, or it's not dry. It's dry 1 out of every 3 days. So gauge that. You know,
Exactly. And but say that's not what you decide to do as a parent. If they're in a crib, it ain't no way they can get out and go use the potty.
right?
If they're in a
Yep.
big kid bed, they can get out on their own. That can aid in some potty training if they feel the urge in the middle of the night and they actually have the wherewithal to want to go to the bathroom. Obviously, they can do it if they can maneuver around their room a little bit easier. Um, and then last couple of things with that is if they're asking for it, maybe they have a friend or a different sibling that um, has a big kid bed. They may express interest themselves, or for a lot of people, if you got a new sibling on the way and you need the crib that they're in,
Yep.
I mean sometimes it's a necessity. So all those could be potential reasons to actually make that move or know that you're ready.
A couple of other things, yeah, good, those are all good points, Brandon. But a couple other things you might want to have conversations with your significant other about, or at least think about as parents before making the switch is one, you don't you think about the habits you have before bed and the processes you have, and you want to probably keep most of those the same because if you start changing things drastically besides just the bed, then it can change how they sleep, right? So if all of a sudden, oh, now you can get a glass of water, or now you're teaching them like to get up to go pee in the middle of the night, or to do different things, or let's you grab a book and read in your bed. Well, now they start thinking that's normal. So try to keep the rest of bedtime the same, at least at first, because otherwise, again, you're changing more than just them sleeping in a new bed. You're changing what their actual bedtime habits are. And something else to consider, and this is one that can be controversial, but it's a conversation to have, is what do you do about the door? You know, because safety matters. So do you keep the door closed and unlocked? Do you lock the door? Do you have a child gate at the top? How do you handle that? So Macy's very adamant she does not want to lock the door. I was a little nervous about that. So her Peyton's door is not locked. We do have a gate at the top that's locked. But it is a little bit nerve wracking because she can get out of her room. She knows how to open doors, obviously. So that's something to talk about. And then how your house is set up can play into that as well. But obviously, if you lock a door, Macy's whole theory is one, she's always terrified of fire, which is legit. But two, if Peyton freaks out and does have a nightmare or scared, and then she can't get to us, it's going to make things 100 times worse, is what her fear is. So that's kind of our reasoning why we don't, and it hasn't been an issue yet, but it could become one because you always hear those stories of, as a parent turning over and your kid staring at you next to the bed. So I'm anticipating that happening at some point in my life, but that's kind of a couple other things that you might want to talk about as a couple before you make the transition.
I would be so afraid that I punch my kid in the face,
Oh, I
dog.
know.
I'm not gonna hold you. I am crazy when I like wake up unexpectedly, and
Yeah.
if I wake up and there's eyes like because they'd be at basically face level looking at you,
Yep.
that
Right
would
there. Freak you out.
uh boy,
I don't disagree,
I
man.
don't know.
It's a big worry of mine. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's
Anything else
crazy.
that you read kind of when it comes to transitioning from a crib and on, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, you hit on a lot of it. Make sure you're getting them excited. Talk about the bed. I mean, any major life change that we have, we're always either looking for books associated with it, looking for like Daniel Tiger episodes or whatever episode
Mm-hmm.
of a show your kid may. I'm sure there's a Daniel Tiger episode. I'm sure there's a Bluey episode about like bed changes. That's a way to introduce it as well. You can make it gradual. So like we have a bed in Bryce's room right now with his crib. He understands like him and I have napped in that bed. Him and I have slept in that bed together before. So you can make it a gradual process to make sure they get comfortable with it. to me, that part's not necessarily a necessity, but I definitely saw it in kind of researching for this. You mentioned having a consistent routine. That's really important. And then when they're actually transitioning, expect some potential bumps in the road. Everything's not going to be perfect. You guys ran into that kind of, but it's been better than normal. Make sure you stay positive, reassuring for your kid. And then in some instances, maybe if you're having a little bit of a struggle getting them to stay in the bed, you may have like an incentive based system like you do with potty training. So maybe they get a sticker or a special treat if they make it through the entire night in the bed and or lay down for the nap, yada yada yada. You gotta, it's not one size fits all. Figure out what works for your kid.
Yeah, those are good points, Brandon. The last couple things I'll say is one, you kind of hit on this, but like, don't expect that it's going to be perfect right off the bat. So don't freak out and like think because you had a couple rough nights or a couple things go wrong, you got to go right back to the crib. It's going to take time. The kids got to learn it and they got to realize what the boundaries are and what the rules are. So communicate it and trust the process. And then another thing, make sure if you are moving your kid, you have stuff anchored down in the rooms and that the rooms are safe. So if they do get out of their bed, they can't hurt themselves. And then lastly, use the tools you have. So if you have a system already in place, like you said, a reward system, continue with that. But also like we have a hatch and there's different colors. And some people, we haven't done this yet, but some people will say like, okay, when it's this color, you stay in the bed. When it's this color, you can get out of bed. When, you know what I mean? Do things like that, where if you already have tools or things that they know what they are
That's a really
or
good idea.
understand,
I never thought about that.
yeah, that's that. A lot of people have said that they've used that. We have not done that yet, but it is kind of cool because Peyton knows when it's pink or purple. Me and Macy argue about what color it actually is. A pinkish purple color, the hatch is, that's bedtime and that's her noise time bed. But like if we told her, hey, when it's green, you can get out of bed. If it's not green, stay in bed. I think she would respond to that. We just haven't had to use that yet, but that's kind of something we might explore too. So, but I'll continue to update people on how it goes. I anticipate we will have ups and downs, just like with potty training and everything else. But so far has been pretty good for us, and it's been kind of fun. It actually has been fun to see Peyton in her big girl bed, and I'm excited to see her in that, but also like eventually Avery in it. And just, I remember my bunk beds growing up with my brother, so it's just kind of like something that they're going to probably remember when they get older and a core memory of their first big girl bed. So it has been kind of fun. I won't lie. Although I might end up regretting it right now. I don't. So it has been good.
Yeah, I remember my brother kicking the top bunk because I was on
Yeah,
the top bunk. So
me
I don't know
too.
if I have the same fond memories with a metal bunk bed that got the rails got cold in the winter. I didn't
We
really
had
like
metal
that
bunk bed
thing,
at my dad's too. We had metal bunk,
and
but
it
we
creaked.
he still has it. I think it's just the grandkids use it now. Yeah, he got it at a garage sale, and we had the metal beds until we literally through college and everything. That's where me and my brother slept until we stopped spending the night at my dad's house. So
That's great.
it's definitely cool. But Brandon, you said you were gonna do a dad joke at the end, so you got one, and then I got another Halloween one for you after that.
Well, you made me look up a Halloween joke, so I did a little detour while you were talking. So we're
Yes.
gonna go with a semi Halloween themed
Okay. Okay.
dad joke. All right. What did the boy say when he saw the cemetery covered in snow?
I don't know.
I see dead people.
Nice. Nice. That's a good one. I
Yep.
like that one.
Yeah.
All right,
I see
mine's a
dead
little
people.
more dad jokey, more corny, I will say. But Brandon, what's a ghost's favorite play?
A ghost favorite play. Uh, Romeo and Juliet.
Close. Romeo and
Juliet.
Juliet.
Good. Oh, I was
You were
close. That was
close. You were
good.
close. I don't know if
Okay.
that's better or worse because you got
I
kind
think
of it and
mine
then you
might have.
couldn't
Yeah.
finish. So yeah, but no, that was good. Romeo and Juliet. So a couple
I
Halloween
think
jokes for you guys.
Juliet is better.
But you know what that means, Brandon? We're through Halloween, and that always kind of means that now we're ramping up for Christmas. The Christmas season,
Yeah.
which I love the Christmas season. So I'm one of those guys. Like trust me, I'm not the put on Christmas music guy because I don't like that until it's actually December. But I like when it starts getting to this time of year because it's kind of fun and I think the girls are starting to get to the point where we can do some traditions and do some things where they get involved with the activities, not just be around. So it's going to be
Well,
fun. I'm
speaking of
excited.
tradition, you know what the next episode is?
Yes, it's a top 10, isn't it?
It's a top 10. We might need, if
Top
we have we
10.
done top 5 or top 10 Christmas gifts that we've gotten?
No, that might be a good one, or even like a top 10 Christmas traditions, or
Yeah.
yeah, we might have to do something
Or
like that.
maybe something Thanksgiving related. We got to figure it out.
Hmm.
You'll know by the title of it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But until next time, we appreciate every single person that listens to us. We appreciate you guys telling your friends about us, posting comments, asking us questions, recommending us, writing reviews. Please continue to do all that. It has definitely been a privilege. And we do read and hear from everyone that does that. So don't ever feel shy. You do not have to. I love all the support that we get. So, but as always, until next time, I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon, and you've been listening to Dad Jokes.